We've got the latest information on Philip Mertens, the Kiwi pilot who's been held hostage in Indonesia's Papua province for 6 months.
For that and everything else worth talking about, find and follow Newsable wherever you listen to podcasts. Newsable, brought to you by BNZ.
Kia ora, I'm Zoe George and this is The Podium. Sports news, but not as you know it from Stuff. With only 6 months out, we start our road to the Rugby World Cup with the All Blacks. Halfback Brad Weber has some high goals this year, his Chiefs side winning the Super Rugby title and lifting the Rugby World Cup. But the number 9 is also co-captain of the Māori All Blacks and is a high-profile champion for the rainbow community. In this bonus episode of The Podium, he talks about what it was like when he was asked to take a leadership role for the Māori All Blacks.
With the Māori All Black captaincy, that was something I was probably initially, I wouldn't say I wasn't keen on it, but I was maybe a little bit whakama about being captain for the Māoris, because I didn't grow up in a Māori household per se. I've always known about my Māori roots, but it wasn't something that was emphasised in my family, and it is a fair way back. My granddad used to talk about it a lot, so we knew it was there, and it probably wasn't until we passed that we really started digging more into it, particularly my generation. Me and my cousins, a few of my cousins dug in real deep to find out more. So it's been a bit of a journey in that sense. And initially I was like, I don't know if I truly represent the Māori team just yet. But the more I thought about it and talked to people, it was like, yeah, I might think that way, but really, I probably represent quite a lot of people that are maybe brought up white, but know they have Māori in them or have Māori roots, and now might be more encouraged to look into it more, like me and my family have, and it's been really, really good for us and really good for me, connecting to that side, and hopefully by me being at the front and showing that, just because you grew up that way doesn't mean it's too late to figure it out or find out more or learn more about you and your family and that side, and knowing that the welcomeness of everyone in that environment was special. So I would encourage anyone that has that sort of side to do that. And I guess I don't think I take too much of that, to answer your question. I don't think I take too much of that into the All Blacks. I think that's guys like TJ and Aaron and stuff, but I certainly now feel confident in that side that I can support those guys in any side of that. And I don't feel embarrassed to do that now. I actually feel quite confident in that area, which has been quite cool for me. Yeah.
Yes, you've got a connection to Ngāti Porou. What side in your family are you connected?
It's my dad's side.
Cool.
My granddad was like a ginger Māori, like a Ihai West or Declan O'Donnell or something. So, yeah.
And you're the third Weber to play halfback for Hawke's Bay.
Yes.
Amazing.
I know, yeah. It actually is quite didn't think of it at the time, but now looking back, it is actually pretty cool. I've always wanted to play for Hawke's Bay. Super Rugby and even the All Blacks just wasn't really a thing for me. It was always the Magpies, because they're the big team in town in Napier. There's no Super Rugby team there. The Hurricanes don't even take real average games to Napier anyway, and it was only once every sort of 3 years, so didn't really have any connection to a Super Rugby team. And then growing up, Dad used to make me watch the VHS tapes of him playing for Hawke's Bay, especially they beat the British and Irish Lions in '93, and I reckon I've watched that video about 100 times. And especially both of them played halfback as well. Unfortunately, was a big contributor to why I'm so short and why I had to play halfback. I would have loved to have been a fullback or a midfielder or something, but no, I had to play halfback. But I do love it now, and it is pretty cool. It'd be cool to look back one day and know that 3 of us have all played for the Magpies and loved it, and hopefully one day if I have a little mini Brad, maybe he'll do the same.
You're a vocal advocate for rainbow inclusion in rugby.
Yes.
Why is that?
For a lot of reasons. Firstly, I had family that are gay, and so seeing what they went through really made me want to help that community feel included and everything. Like, I know how hard it was for my family members to come to terms, and particularly to come out. And then I guess when I thought about it more too, like, rugby until Campbell recently hasn't had a gay All Black yet. And I do a lot of work with a charity called the Waterboy around Hamilton. They do some awesome work. One, they help underprivileged kids get into sport that can't afford to do things. They help, but then on the other side is they are about inclusion in sport, and particularly the rainbow community, and getting into schools. And when I sort of linked up and did some work with them, they made me realise the stats around particularly gay kids that pull out of sport really young because they're scared of what their teammates might think. And like, I think about all the good things that rugby has given me in life, all the people I've met and got to know that I wouldn't have otherwise had I not played rugby, because they come from different backgrounds or different races, religions, whatever. And I'm mates with all of them because we've got this common goal that we're working towards, and like, you get a better perspective on other people. And so that really gutted me that those people were pulling out. And, you know, then you look at the suicide rates of the young people struggling with their sexuality. And so I realised that I have a platform where I can potentially help encourage those people to stay in sport, for one. And two, I'm really passionate about getting into schools, which is what the Waterboy do, and make people realise how their casual language affects people that are struggling with their sexuality. And I remember back when I was at school, and no doubt probably when you were at high school too, like, the use of homophobic slurs so casually were like a daily occurrence, and it still is today. I didn't realise at the time how much of an impact that could have had on people around me that were struggling. And I guess I'm just really passionate about changing that culture. Hopefully one day we'll see an active All Black that is gay. That would be really cool.
When we think about locker rooms as well, locker rooms haven't necessarily been a safe space for many people. Are those homophobic slurs still prevalent? Do you still hear them?
Not so much in my environments, not in elite sport, because I think we're now so aware of our impact because we have people come in and talk about it. We've got things like the Waterboy, more and more guys like me that are pulling guys up for using it. And it's not so much like having a crack at someone for using it. It's more just like educating, like, hey, like, that could really affect someone. And then maybe saying like, oh, next time try use this word, for example, to describe in the same situation. But when I go down to the community level and to club rugby and stuff, it is still really bad, yeah. And I think it's a more accurate snapshot of society at the moment, that casual language is still used. And so, so we've still got a lot of work to do. And that's why I feel like if I had a Super Rugby player, an All Black, come in when I was at high school and make me aware of that language and how it's hurting someone that could be gay, I'd like to think I would have 100% have stepped back and gone, well, yeah, okay, I'll change. I remember when I first come out about the Israel Folau stuff and in support of the gay community, and I saw this comment randomly from this kid that was a couple of years younger than me at school. He was a really good rugby player. I thought, in a couple of years he'll be a first 15 player. He's really good. Then he, in my last year of school, he pulled out of rugby altogether, and I thought, that's a bit odd. He's really bright though, so I was like, maybe it's about academic stuff. And turns out, so he wrote on this comment that Brad was the type of guy at school that I hid my sexuality from. And I remember going, God, like, I was gutted to see that, but also I was like, of course, like, it was what me and my mates were definitely like that. And so I just think, like, if I had someone that come in and changed my language back then, maybe he stays in rugby, maybe he's the All Black that I'm talking about, but we don't ever see it because of the way the language is in school. So we've got to change it.
And that's it for this bonus episode of the Podium Podcast. I'm Zoe George, and thanks to guest Brad Weber, producer Philippa Tolley, and sound engineer Connor Scott. Who's your favourite All Black and what question would you ask them? Email us on thepodium@stuff.co.nz and don't forget to follow The Podium wherever you get your podcasts so you never miss an episode. We'll catch you again on Thursday. Until then, ka kite anō, go well.
In May 2017, a Christchurch builder disappeared, almost without trace. No crime scene was ever found, no weapon was ever found, no body was ever found. In February 2023, David Charles Benbow went on trial. The prosecution said that, while based entirely on circumstantial evidence, its case was so comprehensive there could be no doubt Benbow was guilty. The defence said detectives were biased, working hard to build a case against Benbow after he was identified as a prime suspect. Stuff, New Zealand's home of true crime podcasts, presents The Trial. Hear the evidence, follow the twists and turns. Wait for the verdict.